It's time now for Media Watch, and I'm joined here by Emma James. Emma, good to have you on set. You're starting with reactions to one of our top stories, of course, a political drama that's currently playing out in Italy.
Yes, extremely politically turbulent times in Italy right now. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the Italian version of The Local has chosen on its website to make its word of the day pazzo, which actually means crazy. It can also mean madman. Not entirely sure if they had anyone in particular in mind when they picked that one out today. But just moving on, no particular link. Here's Matteo Salvini. This is what he's been putting on his Twitter feed today. He is calling on the Italian people to take to the streets on the 19th of October. He's calling it a great day of Italian pride. He believes he has the public behind him, and he believes that on the 19th of October he can actually lay that bare and make it obvious to all and sundry. He's also posted videos on his Facebook page basically demanding democracy and respect for the vote and rules. We will wait and see, but clearly he's going nowhere quietly. ANSA, which is an Italian news agency, has this one saying that there are very familiar scapegoats involved in his ousting, according to Matteo Salvini. He calls this a government born in Brussels. And the only aim, he says, was to get rid of that pain in the neck Salvini. And he's well and truly blaming Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron, who he believes are really pulling the strings. So it's Brussels, Berlin and Paris all working together to just get him out because nobody likes him. Le Monde has a very different take, though, the French newspaper, saying that basically he has no one to blame but himself. This was the man who scored an own goal. He basically had hoped to bring down the government and, with his popularity, force an early election and get to be Prime Minister. And, of course, that is not how it's worked. His bet has failed, says Le Monde. Also in Le Monde is the cartoonist Plantu, who has this drawing, which I love. You've got a migrant bobbing in the water there. Of course, Salvini vehemently anti-immigration, and he's alongside in a little boat, and the migrant is saying to him, "Give up, they are never going to welcome you." Now, interestingly, finally, it seems people are starting to pay a little bit of attention to the Italian Prime Minister, Giuseppe Conte. He had been dubbed Mr. Nobody, and we haven't really heard that much about him until now. He's described as a discreet former academic who has finally found his voice now. He'd become very critical and very angry about Salvini's obsession with immigration. And interestingly, he also criticised him, saying that his government has worked a lot and wasn't at the beach, because Matteo Salvini has regularly been seen campaigning out in his shorts, less regularly seen in his own office, even though, of course, there's no election, but he was still out campaigning. So interesting times in Italy. We will have to see what happens on the great day of Italian pride, the 19th of October.
Indeed, very interesting times, and observers, Emma, of course, saying that it may not be over quite yet.
Indeed.
Up next, one story that's been getting a lot of traction across France, and rightly so, is French football homophobic?
Yes, and not just in France. People are interested in this around the world. It does appear as though France has a problem. However, that may be to do with the fact that new rules have been implemented. So it really has come to the fore this season. Of course, the season only just underway. And this is actually the fourth match so far to be disrupted by homophobic chants, and in this case, banners being unfurled as well. This was Nice versus Marseille. The banners clearly show that this was very carefully planned. The content isn't the worst that you're ever going to see. They seem to think that calling someone gay or something gay is an insult. It is homophobic, but it's not the worst thing you'll see. A full away end makes the stadium gay, they say, and support an LGBT club to fight against homophobia. Now, the tone in the chants that were heard was considerably stronger. Things like a bunch of, I won't say the word, but it rhymes with steers, and other things being chanted, as they have been at other matches, and other matches have been suspended too. Now, the coaches for these two teams were happy that this game was stopped for a while the problem was sorted out. Not all the players were, though, and this is interesting because Willin Cyprien, who plays for Nice, said, "We're not going to stop the game each time some morons do something. I'm against all forms of discrimination, but you shouldn't stop the match for so little. It's ridiculous." And that's something that we're seeing reflected a lot online too. Not by everyone. This person angered by what the players had to say, saying, there was no condemnation of the chants or the banners. They just complained about the time that they were stopped from playing. And basically, this guy saying they've got to have some balls, and we're not talking about footballs. This person, though, commenting on the story, saying there is a massive problem with homophobia in France. I don't think that banner was an example, and there is an awful lot of debate out there on social media as to what constitutes homophobic statements and the like, and words, and were these simply straightforward insults, and should we expect it at football grounds?
That's so French, isn't it? The different layers of what can be considered homophobic or not, racist or not.
Absolutely. Some fans groups are very angry at the way that they feel they're being treated and portrayed. They're going to be meeting with the LFP, the Professional Football League, on the 5th of September. That's next week. Not all the authorities seem to be getting it, though. The LFP very much behind it, but Noël Le Graët, who's the head of the FFR, the French Football Federation, actually told the French sports minister that she just didn't understand the problem in football grounds because she doesn't go to them often enough. She is a former swimmer. He said, you don't get that at the swimming pool. So he appears to be writing it off as, you don't understand, it's just something that happens at football matches. So we'll see. Is it any better anywhere else? Well, Le Parisien, interestingly, seems to say that England is leading the way. It's taken the lead, they say, because there are lots of measures, both from clubs and authorities, to try to address the problem of homophobia in the stands. There is actually an app that you can download onto your phone. This has been around for about 6 years now. Kick it out. And what you can do is, if somebody near you is chanting, you can send a message to the authorities directly, send a photo, send a video, and they will then come along and kick those people out, not knowing, of course, who has sent the message. So it's a really great way to actually give the fans the power to kick out those who are doing things so unfairly and improperly.
Has that ever led to violence if they find out who's doing it? I wonder? Who knows? Emma James, thank you very much for taking a look at what's buzzing on our social media networks. Thanks for being with us.